It's Chelsea,
It's Nina.
and you're in the Critics' Kingdom.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of the Critics' Kingdom. This week, we're going to be reviewing Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam. This came out in 2010, which was well beyond the period of time where I would be participating in viewing this.
Agreed.
So this was the first viewing for me. I believe the first viewing for you as well, Chelsea. Correct?
Yep, same. It was also my first name. Or sorry, my first viewing too. Thinking of Final Jam, I guess.
Name and life. I want to be a star, or maybe I don't. Maybe I just want to rock out. Questions that the film poses.
You were correct. And with that, I can get into the recap. So we start back with Mitchie and her mom driving back to Camp Rock the following summer. This movie also came out in 2010, just so you know, which is why we didn't watch it. We were in high school. And they're driving back to the summer camp, and while they're driving, they see a new sign up and it says Camp Star. And then Mitchie is like, wait, Mom, is somebody else moving in? And her mom's like, oh, I don't know. So then they're like, huh, okay. So they finally get to the camp. She meets up with her friends, Caitlin, Tess, and, they all are like, oh my gosh, we're so excited. She tells them she's been writing some new music. She wrote a duet actually for her and Shane. And, blah, blah, blah. She's so excited because her and Shane have actually only been communicating via email because he's been on tour with his brothers as Connect 3. We then flash forward to Connect 3 trying to get to the camp in their tour bus, but their tour bus has now broken down in the middle of the road. So they're trying to fix it, which makes no sense because AAA. And the poor driver is literally just sitting there because he's clearly tried and he's like, I'm not doing anything else for these white boys. So he's just sitting over there sweating, and they try to get it, but it just doesn't work out. Next thing they know, the tire falls off and the bus falls into the lake. And they're like, oh crap, how are we going to get to camp? Instead of wondering, oh crap, how are we going to pay back the label who clearly paid for this bus, which is now totaled. They end up making it to camp by pulling a chicken farmer, I guess, to take them there. So then they show up to camp, everybody cheers, and they're all super excited because they're like, oh my God, Connect 3 is back, like blah, blah, blah. And Shane connects with Mitchie, and they're super excited because they're like, oh my gosh, we finally get to actually hang out again and like not, only talk via email anymore. And Brown, who is their Connect 3's uncle and also the head of the camp and the founder of the camp, he calls everybody together and he's like, this is going to be a great summer. And it's a whole, amphitheater moment. He's just getting everybody psyched up for the year. And all of a sudden, they start getting various food ingredients airdropped to them, literally airdropped from the lake. So some people get graham crackers, some people get chocolate, some people get marshmallows, and they realize it's s'mores. And basically the camp that Mitchie and her mother saw, Camp Star, they're like, oh, you guys need to come tonight. We're going to have a bonfire called the Opening Jam, and we want to invite you all, and like it'll be a fun time. So they start begging Brown. They're like, Brown, can we go? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, fine, like we can go. But he's nervous because he's like, I've been the only camp in town all these years. Like, why is this other camp suddenly popping up? I don't know who owns it. I don't know anything about them. So they have to take their canoes to get over there. And they're like, oh my God, it looks like a resort. But actually it looks more like a prison because the walls are so tall and gray. It's weird. But they finally get in there and they see they have this huge amphitheater. And they've got like a full setup on the stage. And they meet the founder of this new camp, Camp Star. And his name is Axel Turner. And we actually find out that he is one of Brown's former bandmates who got kicked out of the band. They were both in this band called the Wet Crows, which is a horrible name, but we'll ignore that for the moment. And Axel got kicked out of the band, but then he basically went on to have a huge solo career and founded his own record label, which is doing really, really well. And now he wants to get in on this money venture. As of now, that's what we know. So he tells Camp Rock, he's like, oh, you guys sit down, like blah, blah, blah. They give them all hot chocolate as soon as they arrive. Basically, this is like the bougie version of Camp Rock. So they're all like freaking out because they're like, oh my God, this is so much nicer. And as soon as Axel gets on stage to introduce, like to welcome them to the opening jam, he's like, does anybody from Camp Rock, he's like, do you guys want to perform for us? Like, give us an idea of your talent, blah, blah, blah. And Camp Rock is like, well, we just started today, so no. And he's like, well, that's okay. My campers, Camp Star, can perform for everybody. So they do this big performance and it's like great. And Camp Rock, they're like blown away. Brown is like shaking in his boots because he's just like, we don't have all these capabilities. We don't have this technology. We don't have all these, like, you know, the state of the art stage and music instruments and all that. So then Camp Star, Axel Turner is like, well, you know, if anybody from Camp Rock, like any of your counselors, you want to come and join us over here at Camp Star, I'll double your salary. And if any campers want to come over to Camp Rock, you can come right now, like we'll accept you, blah, blah, blah. So then basically all the counselors leave because they're like, money. And then the campers are like, well, this looks a lot cooler. And so they start leaving as well. And so immediately Brown is like, pack up, you need to get in the canoes now to everybody from Camp Rock. And so they're trying to leave. And as they are, Mitchie is walking around, like trying to get all the Camp Rockers who are like throughout the camp now. And she stumbles upon Luke Williams, who is the main singer for Camp Star, who was the star of their show, basically. And he basically tells her, like, I feel like we're the same person. We're both super ambitious, but you don't want to be as, like, you don't really want to maximize your potential, or else you would leave and come here. Because he basically was like, you need to come here. And she was like, no, like, I love Camp Rock. And he's like, oh, I realize now that you're actually at the right camp for you, which is shade. And she actually has nothing to come back at him with other than, like, I'm happy. And
you fool.
And he's like, okay, girl. He's like, you need to stop being so sensitive to me. I just said what you said to me. And then Tess comes in and she's like, oh my God, Mitchie, like, I'm transferring to Camp Star. And Mitchie's like, girl, what the fuck? And she's like, I'm sorry, but, you know, it's better for me. So then they leave Tess there. And everybody at Camp Rock, once they get back, is like nervous. And they're like, we need to get our stuff together. We need to like go and we need to have another, like a proper face off where we're ready to be with them. And like, we need to like really prepare and all of that. So they suddenly are like, you know, they're like, we need to get everything together and do this again. And while they were at the performance, actually, Nate, who is Nick Jonas, he falls in love with the piano player who loses her bracelet and somehow it ends up in his eye, even though she is at least, I don't know, 100 feet away from him.
Too far. The point is too far.
It just doesn't make sense. But her bracelet hits him in the face. He finally meets up with her and is like, oh my God, love. But then he finds out that she's actually Axel Turner's daughter and he's obviously Brown's nephew. So that's just drama. So then they leave, but now he's got, you know, they both are like into each other, but have to be from afar. So Camp Rock is in like, well, let's get our stuff together and we're going to go over and try and like do a rematch. So a few days later, they go back over to Camp Star when they're like cleaning up or something. And they're like, let's all start dancing and singing together, but like against each other. And they perform a whole little song. And then Axel sees it from the side of the stage and he's like, oh, actually, I think we should make this like a formal thing that's broadcasted all over the world and call it Camp Wars, the Final Jam. And everybody looks to Mitchie for some strange reason. And Mitchie is like, well, I don't know. And they're like, come on, Mitchie, we got to do it. We have to protect the Camp Rock crown, which, okay. And she was like, fine, we'll do it. So the next scene, we see Brown and her mother talking to each other. And they're essentially like, why would Mitchie say yes? And then her mom's like, well, she didn't know. She's just a child. And Brown is like, no, she said, yes, we can't do this. She should have been thinking about the bigger picture. And Mitchie overhears it. So then she starts, you know, going hard on everybody at Camp Rock. Like, she's like, guys, we need to make this like the best performance we've ever done. We need to practice all day, every day for the next couple of days until the Camp Wars. And they're tired of it because they're like, girl, like, we need to relax too. Like, we can't solely practice all the time. And her boyfriend, Shane, actually is like, yo, Mitchie, I like never see you, even though we're at the same camp and we have not seen each other, spent any time together since everything has happened, even though it's been maybe a week. So, okay. And he is like, well, I know it'll make you calm down. So he goes to like the kids in the camp and is like, oh, like, let's go attack the older kids. Because these kids are like, I don't know, 9, 10. So he's like, let's go attack the older kids with like water balloons and like have a water fight, basically. Mitchie is pissed though, because she's like, yo, like we were trying to practice. Like, I'm really focused right now. You're messing up my flow. Like, I don't appreciate this. And she's also just tired because since all the counselors basically defected because they wanted more money.
He offered to double their salary. No one is mad at them.
Right, exactly.
I'm just saying,
So they all left. So then now Mitchie and all her friends are now the camp counselors. And the eldest brother, Jason, is now like the counselor for all the children because they have literal children in this camp. So we see the kind of ups and downs with that in addition to them rehearsing and practicing every day with everyone. So everybody's just tired, and that's why they were all like very relieved by the water fight because it was just like it was a release, except Mitchie, because she's just like, you're not taking this seriously. Like, nobody is taking this as serious as I am, because she's feeling all this pressure because she knows Brown thinks that she made a bad decision. So they all kind of relax after that, and her and Shane have it out. But the next morning she wakes up and Shane already has everybody like basically blocked and like has all of everybody knows their words and they know their lines and like everything is basically good. And her friend Caitlin's like, yeah, he woke us all up before dawn and we started practicing. So she's like, encouraged, and she loves that. So her and Shane, they reconcile and it's cute. And it's the day of the Camp Wars. So they go over to Camp Star to have the battle. And Camp Star performs first. And it's actually Tess and Luke who are the stars now. But Luke low-key can't stand Tess. He thinks she's just useless. But they know how to turn it on for the stage. So they turn it on for the stage and have a very good song. And then Camp Rock comes on and they're suddenly just like, yeah, like, we had fun. We've made crafts this summer and like we're singing and like it's just Shane and Mitchie and blah, blah, blah. And like, it's cute. So Camp Star ends up rightfully winning because they actually had the better performance, if we're being honest. And all the while, Camp Rock also found out that apparently, like, Axel had like bought something where it texted everybody in America to be like, vote for Camp Star, even if you weren't watching the live stream or whatever it was. So they were like, there's basically win, and that's what happened. But also, they were also much better. So they win, and Camp Rock is, disheartened, but they're like, all right, well, we'll kind of get it together, and like we at least feel better because Tess now comes back to them. And then the next thing they know, a bunch of other campers who defected are now coming back because they're like, we're not happy there. It's too like regimented or something. And we see that Mitchie and Shane are like now like officially back together. Nate has like gotten up the courage to actually date Dana now, and he doesn't care about her dad being Axel, and everybody is happy. And that is Camp Rock 2, the final jam.
And with that, we will be right back with the review. So to get into the recap, Chelsea?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I feel like we just overall described this film as just like mediocre. Like it was just there, but it also wasn't that. It was also that they had so many more songs in this one than they had in the first one. And they put them all in the last like 40 minutes. Like it was like everything was in like act 3. Like the first 2 acts, it didn't feel like it was too many songs. Like they had one every once in a while. I was like, okay, this is cute. About the same as Camp Rock. And then I don't know what happened in that last 40 minutes, but I swear it was like somebody would start talking, and then next thing we would know, we would hear music.
You were suddenly in Les Miserables, and it was very strange.
Yeah, because they didn't fully commit, which I feel like was our biggest issue. I think I would have much preferred had they just literally done a movie where every dialogue was sung, which I don't think we've really seen in a kids movie or a DCOM thus far. And it would have been interesting. It would have had to be shorter. I think you said that, Nina.
Yeah, I was like, you would have to. Yeah, kids would not sit and like watch you. Like they wouldn't deal with that for more than like at most an hour and 25 minutes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like, I guess, like, to me, like, that was a symptom of, like, everything about this film just felt like overly ambitious in the wrong ways, if that makes sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even like the premise of it, right? Like, if the whole idea of the film like hinders on, it's like these two camps at war. Like, it's a very big idea, but then they root it in something that like is very tenuous, which is like that the camp might shut down if this other camp is here. Um and the way that they, like, the cast is huge, but most of the characters are irrelevant
Mm-hmm.
and non-essential to like the plot in any sort of way. Um it's just, I don't know. It's just like it didn't it just, I don't know. It was poorly executed, and it got to, like, watching it got to the point where it was sort of like I literally don't know why I'm still watching this.
Yeah.
Um which is something that you never want someone to say about your film.
I completely agree. I think, especially towards the end, it was just weird. Like it just got weird instead of
Yeah, I think I
like
wrote down, I was like, there are
interesting.
6 songs in the last 30 minutes of the film.
Yeah. No, because
And
we
they're
were
each like
counting.
two, like, at minimum 2.5 minutes long. So I mean,
And it was so unnecessary. Like anytime her and Shane spoke, then Dana had to sing to Nate and Nate had to sing to Dana. It was like they basically tried to record a Joe Bros album towards the end. I think you
yeah.
actually said that while we were watching it. And it really did feel like that because every song was them singing. It wasn't like Demi singing or anything. Like, so it was just weird. But I think another part also was just like Camp Star was also much better than them. Like just objectively.
Yeah.
So I was like, are we really fighting for something here? Because it sounds like you guys just need to recruit better people.
Or
That's what this is
like,
giving me.
I mean, it's also the thing of like, here's the thing, like, there's nothing wrong with like just wanting to do something for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know something that like we both like were kind of just annoyed at seeing it again was the vilifying of the of ambition and a desire for like monetary success. Like,
Right.
'cause that's really what's being put up against each other, and the idea that like Axel is like this big, like he's posed as like not quite a sellout, but like, oh, like all he cares about is the money and all he cares about is the fame and the stardom, and like the other one, I don't know the name of Uncle whatever, cares about
Brown.
Uncle Brown cares about the music, and it's like we don't like we should probably get to a point of like, or I'm not gonna say like that we have to stop doing that, but we live in America where money is king,
Right.
and I don't want you teaching my children that they are better off following their hearts and not caring about money. Like, not to say that they shouldn't follow their hearts, but they should also care about money. Like, the two things don't have to be dichotomies. Like, they don't have to fight against each other. And like this movie literally just pits them against each other. Um so yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, like, they don't win, so I guess like there's that, but still.
Yeah, there's such a negative association with naked ambition. Like even the way that when she has her whole, talk with Luke when they're all preparing to leave Camp Star, and he basically is like, I think you're good enough to actually be here at Camp Star, and she like comes back with the fact, well, I love music, and he was like, okay. Like
He's like, yeah, me too. I don't understand what's
right?
the
It's like, why is this a rebuttal?
like, you think that being in the music industry is easier than being a lawyer? It's not. It's not like,
no. So many politics, so much nonsense. Like
Like, if I
And
just wanted to make a quick buck, I would go do something else. Like, I
right.
happen to love this thing, but I need to also feed myself.
Exactly, because I
Like,
think when we were watching it, I was even saying, I was like, honestly, the two of them have way more in common than they have apart. Like, honestly, they may have more in common than like her and Shane. Because the
yeah,
thing is, Mitchie is also ambitious. She's extremely ambitious in the first one. Like that, she didn't even technically was not even able to pay to go to this Camp Rock, but her mother like figured out a way for her to do it. And she was trying to figure out her own way because wasn't she like going to get a job or something? Like it's just like, girl, you're ambitious too. But we're just taught to hide that from such a young
yeah,
age. Like it's supposed, you're encouraged not to show it, but you're supposed to have it. It's very strange.
yeah. Like, even, even in Harry Potter, it's like, Slytherin, like, that's the first thing about them that makes them bad, is that they're ambitious. Like, we were sort of beat over the head with that. And it's just, that's not, I don't find that to be a helpful modus operandum of engaging with society. Like, there's nothing wrong with not having ambition per se. If that's just how you are, that's how you are. But we shouldn't encourage people to, you know, squash or silence the ambition that they do have.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's very it's just very interesting. I wonder how ambition became entangled with being a negative thing. I mean, I see how it can take you to that, but
Well,
I,
I mean,
on
it's
its
it's
face, it's not, everybody needs to be ambitious to a
it's one
degree.
of those things that ebbs and flows. But I think in its current iteration, it has a lot to do with the noble or like ruling classes of the European society and the ways in which they viewed ambition.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And how, like, in, like, it's that weird dance of court where it's like, you know don't look like you're trying to do that. Everyone's trying to get a leg up, but you have to play the game more like cautiously than that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't look like you're trying to get a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been the mindset that has trickled down and has continued, like, past imperialism, past colonialism, like past, like, European expansion and, slaughter and conquering of they also brought that to the rest of us as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
and now we live with the repercussions of it. Of, actually, it's like funny, like, thinking about, it's definitely been said, you can be ambitious but not too ambitious. And
Mm-hmm.
it's often the people who are the most at the bottom who get vilified for having ambitious desires. um it's a it's a it's a very good mechanism. The demonizing of ambition is a very good mechanism of keeping status quo as it is.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that you are correct because even when I think of something like the way that Britain has their like really intense class system versus like how we have class here in America. Um, and how a lot of it, I mean, ours obviously came from theirs, but theirs is still a lot more rigid in how they see it. Um, I think it's interesting that you made that comparison to the past and how that all came from it, because I even think of um, how you can't they always look down at people who manage to move up in class over there versus
Yeah,
here where you're celebrated essentially. um, if you manage to like get to whatever that next echelon is, or whatever that may be, like going from working class to upper middle or whatever, like it's just kind of because our whole ideology here in America is pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So like we really like love that. But over there, it's very much like if you manage to somehow get to a class that is not your own, that's above your own, they hate you. Like
yeah.
even
Or
when you
like, they
think,
vilify new money. Like, there is that
yeah,
concept of new money, and new money doesn't know what to do, and new money doesn't know the rules, and blah 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 blah.
right, yeah. Because even when you think of like a Kate Middleton or like a Meghan Markle, like it's like in how much they were like dragged, and it was literally mostly because they both married above their class. And that was half of the issues that people had with them, which is wild. I mean, Megan also, you have the racial aspect too, but if you want to even take that away, like Kate also was constantly mocked because she was middle class.
Doesn't she also have? No, never mind.
um, but they
Is she
also define
Romani?
middle class very differently there.
Yeah. Is she Romani? Does she have Romani heritage? I might be making
No,
that.
no, that
I
was just
might
a
have
joke on the
seen that.
Windsors.
Yeah,
No,
I was like, I might have seen that in something and just ran with it in my
no,
own
no,
head.
she doesn't. She's just like a random English girl through and through.
Oh, okay.
But she
It's a
was like
funny
of
joke.
middle class heritage. Like they weren't
Understood.
aristocrats or anything. But yeah, it's just something that I think is interesting because the demonization definitely, like you said, has like rolled down from our former oppressors.
I wouldn't say former. I think all of the systems that currently oppress us are still the result of European society.
Well, yes, I mean like the result, but I'm saying when they were
When
still
they were
here owning
actively,
us, when they were actively owning and oppressing. Granted, yes, we're still oppressed because obviously we are Black women. But
yeah,
I'm
and
saying European when the Brits used to own us, they were
yeah,
actively oppressed.
I live in the land of never forget. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I mean,
so like,
I don't
as
know if I
far
would
as
say
I'm
that they're
concerned, you're all still
still.
bastards.
Yeah, and I don't know if they would say. I think things have kind of flipped a little bit, just because we have a lot of money. But like, but that's
Meh.
like a bigger conversation. But yeah, I just think it's interesting. Also, the whole villainization. I do think it's definitely come down from the wider European oppressors. And I think something else that we were discussing in this is also the age ranges of the campers, because the first one, I swear they did not have children in it.
Or if they did, they weren't prominent. Like they didn't matter. And it's
Yeah.
weird that I guess that the idea is that they were probably trying to do that whole thing of like camp should be fun. And the best way to show that you're ruining the fun with all this ambitious talk is by showing the sad faces of children. But I didn't need it. But I also didn't need the film. So I mean,
No, right. It's like I didn't need the film. I didn't need that. It was just weird. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like this one, like we said, it was very meh. I actually don't even think Demi sang all that much. Now that I'm thinking about it, she maybe
not a
had like
lot.
3 or 4 songs, but because this one had so many songs, like that really was not that much.
Or it's like it had so many songs that nothing is memorable. There's that one time that I don't know any of the characters' names because as you can tell, I'm not involved.
She's not invested in this one.
But Nick Jonas, right? That's the little one.
Yes, that's the youngest.
Okay. Nick Jonas has that one song where he sounds like Jason Mraz.
Yes.
Singing I'm Yours. And that is the only song I can recall from that film. And I watched it yesterday. I just want to make that clear. There's so many. Like, there's no way that, like, you can't even retain what's happening because there are literally so many songs.
I think something else that you also brought up when we were watching it, because we were trying to figure out the age range for everybody, because I had thought that Joe Jonas was like a year older than Demi, or like within 1 to 2 years, and that Nick was like 2 or 3 years younger than her. However, Nick is the exact same age as Demi Lovato, and Joe is like, I think, 3 or 4 years older than her, I think. So I'm just now very confused as to why Nick was not the love interest versus Joe.
It really don't make no type of sense.
Yeah, it's like once we looked up the dates, it was like, wait, but why wouldn't? Because I was also like, Nick was the one that from the beginning, I feel like everybody was like, oh, he's the cute one. Like I think Joe was okay. People liked Joe, but it wasn't, like I was like, Nick was always the cuter one from what I can remember when we were growing up. So it just seems strange that they wouldn't have made him the love interest in this versus making it Joe. But I'm like, maybe they were trying to push the Joe agenda, and that's why we had all those girls dating him in like 2009. But yeah, it was just strange when you like actually look at the ages, and it's just like, so what was the purpose of this?
Yeah, it's a question I ask myself a lot while watching the film. You just kept coming back up in my head. I don't know why.
I was like, so what was the overall purpose of this entire film?
Like literally, why? That's my main why. Okay. Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't very interesting. I don't. But I don't know. In all fairness, I also never really went to camp.
Oh,
So
same.
like
Same.
maybe that this is something that like really connected to, but I don't know, because here's the thing, Disney's done camp movies before and I've loved them, I've identified with them, I've been really about them, like I thought that they were great. We talked about how we like loved Bug Juice when it was on
Ugh.
when we were kids, that like camp reality short show that they used to do. I literally brought up, I was like, I don't understand how Heavyweights was so good and this was like so bad. Like, and there is another camp movie where they have like two warring camps, but I forget. But I could also be thinking of a Mary-Kate and Ashley film. Anyway, the point is,
No, but I feel like
I could also be thinking of Two of a Kind.
camp was
But
a popular kids
yeah,
trope in the 90s to early 2000s. So no, I'm
so
sure
I don't
there
understand
definitely
how
is
you.
something what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I don't understand how you messed it up, man. Because I love a camp film. I never went to camp, but I love a camp film. But I did not love this.
Right.
Not the emotion that comes to mind when I think of this movie.
Yeah, it is weird how they like kind of fumbled the bag a little bit on this one, or a lot of it actually. Because I get the premise. The premise is actually, it's cute. The premise for the first one, it's like a bunch of kids go to a camp to turn them into musicians. It's like, okay, that's cute, but yeah, there's like nothing really happened with it. And then by the second one, you're just like, okay, why are we doing this? Like,
it's like
what is
it
the
doesn't.
purpose?
Like I don't understand why the camp needed to sort of be at war with another. Like it's just I don't. Like I said, the premise is just faulty. It's very
Right.
tenuous. It's operating on like you get very little information, and then on top of that, the stakes are just super low to me. Like super, super, super low.
Yeah, they're not really there.
Because like camps shut down all the time, and then beyond that, like even if we're gonna do the thing where it's like, oh, they love this camp and they don't want it to see it shut down, yeah, but you're also like 16, bro. Like you're not gonna be there in like 2 years. I mean, there are those people that like are camp counselors till they're like 26, and I will never actually understand that. But I guess live your lives.
Listen, they said Camp Wikiyaya really meant a lot to them, and they're never going to. They're never gonna let it go.
Go ahead. Like camp was an adventure for you during the summers, and you grew very attached to that. But yeah, like I just don't. I think like, or if the stakes are high, they're only high to people who have been through that or who have like those deep connections, and I actually don't think that that's most American children. So
I would agree with that.
I'm confused.
The only camp I went to was Vacation Bible School camp. And we didn't sleep over. It was just you were just doing the
But you know what?
During the
that is the movie that would be incredible. That would be such a good movie. I would watch the shit out of that.
Oh God, Vacation Bible School. What a dark time.
No, literally call it Vacation Bible School Camp. Like that's the name of the film. Also, copyright. Like anybody listening, me and Chelsea, we own that. Like don't go out and start making nothing. Because clearly the idea was heard here. But excellent idea. That could be a great movie.
There you go. Now we have something else to write. Don't take our views, Disney. Actually, they probably wouldn't because they don't do religious movies.
Unless it's, Hanukkah or A Boy in a Wheelchair.
Yes. Or the one Christmas movie that talked about going to church for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's when they make their exceptions. All right. I mean, I don't really have much more to say.
Yeah. I feel like we've exhausted the topic of the Joe Bros and Demi Lovato in this one.
And I'm also disinclined to, give it more time.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to give more time to Camp Rock 2, the final jam. So I guess with that, Chelsea, do you intend to show this to your children?
No. They might see Camp Rock 1 because I know that, that was fairly popular for its time. Maybe. But honestly, I feel like by that point there will be something else. So I doubt it. Um unless they're really into Demi Lovato. It just doesn't make sense. So no. What about you?
Hard pass for me. Yeah, I don't think I need to say much more than that. I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. It's just not, like I said, it's not good. And to me, it's almost like I would rather you be so bad. You know what I mean? Because you know how like really bad films can get like cult followings. Like The Room and Suicide Squad. Like it could, and I guess The Descent.
Suicide Squad.
Like
wait, was that really bad? I didn't watch it. I just remember seeing the
that
trailer.
was literally the
out.
whole thing. That was literally the
and
whole
they
thing.
changed the trailer. I remember that.
People went to see it, and it was
uproar.
So fucking horrible. And they kept telling everybody about how horrible it was, and then people were like, "Oh my god, I gotta go see it if it's that bad." Like that's literally. I remember like being in like the mailroom at the agency that we worked at, and like having those conversations.
Throwback.
Like,
yeah, no, I remember when the first trailer came out, and the first trailer was really good from what I can remember. And then they said it was too dark. So then they recut it, and then it just got worse. And then, yeah, it was like a snowball effect. I didn't end up seeing it because I just didn't see the point. But yeah, maybe it will come back around, especially because, Demi and all the brothers Jonas are still like very much in the ether.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
But like my issue is that it's not even so like with those movies, they're so bad that you can at least like, like that system of like hate watching or whatever, or like watching for the laugh or watching to see what not to do, blah blah blah, right? Or to find the gem of a shot in it, that's like a thing that people do. I have a much harder time with like the indifferent, like the mediocre film. Because it's like I can't even like I literally just don't want to deal with it anymore. Like I'm actually just indifferent. Like you're not even like bad enough for me to like hate you,
right?
And like rant about how bad you are and find like humor in that. It's instead like you just exist in this limbo land, and yeah. So I mean, again, like if you turn it on, I'm not gonna like yell at you, but I will tell you to mute the TV or turn it real low when them songs come on. Best believe. And that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think with that, guys, we're going to rock on. God, that was bad.
Yeah, that was rough.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Critics Kingdom. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you can stay up to date, as well as interacting and letting us know what you guys think on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Critics Kingdom and on Instagram at The Critics Kingdom. We're excited to talk to you again next week.